Hey everyone, and welcome back to the replay. This is part 3 of this replay here on Lost Temple between CowGoMo and Az. Right before we had to pause last time, we saw these phoenixes come in. Whatever the pronunciation is on that. Someone help me out with the grammar. Phoenixes coming into the space, so let's get this started again. So the phoenixes are coming in, they're coming around, gonna try and shoot down the banshees. They've been doing such good harassment, but we do see some Vikings popping out of the starport, trying to shoot down these phoenixes. They are just kind of sitting there, but I mean, there's not much they can do until some anti-air shows up. They do have this graviton beam, which allows them to float a target into the air. Something they might want to try doing on, say, that SCV that's building a turret, or over there. And we do see these two Vikings coming out. They are going to probably be able to overpower these phoenixes, as they do a bit more damage, and these turrets are going to come out, which is definitely going to help the situation. This warp prism also not going to make it, dropping some units off, but those aren't going to survive at all. So let's see here. We have these banshees and these Vikings kind of coming in here, just attacking the space, staying away from these photon cannons, trying to stay out of range here. And it looks like a siege tank is coming out from here, so it's going to start sieging this location. These stalkers, you know, I'd say they might be blinking up onto this high ground here, but they do not have blink research, so they cannot get up onto the high ground. Terran player CowGoMo, he's gonna pull back his forces, and it looks like just sit in his base and wait a little bit. Two more phoenixes coming in, and oh, here we see some warp prisms dropping some units off, and there's that starport from above, and as soon as it lands, it's gonna start getting attacked immediately by these stalkers. SCVs coming into the fray, just being nuisances, getting all up in these stalkers' faces, trying to do what damage they can, and they're really able to hold the fire of the stalkers. The stalkers are focusing down the SCVs, not shooting at who they should be shooting, which is these banshees and these Vikings, which were on the ground. They can do that, and then they pop right back up and start shooting at that phoenix as it comes in. Vikings can go on the ground, they can pop back up into the air. Some really good micro from CowGoMo here in this match. He's doing a really good job, and surprisingly also some very good macro, despite the fact that he lost his main base and his natural expansion. He's been able to really tech up very well. If we look at the income, he's actually getting a lot more minerals than Az, mainly because Az can't mine at this base down here, because the siege tank is just really just ripping it apart, keeping any probes from wanting to be in that general area. So Az is going to set up another base over here, an expansion base over here. He's going to try and get mining going on at this base. And there's actually a barracks up here. It looks like it's going to try and produce some Marines, but this Phoenix did see it, and some Protoss forces are going to probably divert from chasing that SCV and come over here and try and destroy this barracks. And this single poor Marine, in the middle of combat, meets his death. So this barracks is probably going to lift off and try and get up onto this high ground, maybe get some vision, keep an eye on this base, make sure nothing fishy goes on. Here we have this large, semi-large force here, going after these pylons. These pylons were probably placed here by Az to keep the Terran player from expanding, and if the Terran player wants to expand, he has to attack these pylons and let Az know, essentially, hey look, I'm going after these expansions, come and get me, kind of. However, Az, from what I can see, he doesn't really have anything that he can use to chase, to stop the command center from landing if it so desires. And here is another command center coming up over here. It's going to fly over to another location, possibly that high yield mineral location. High yield minerals, you take I think it's 8 minerals back, kind of like back in Starcraft 1. Starcraft 2 you only take 5. Here's this force. It's getting bigger, you know, by the minute. Well, not by the minute, but you know, as time goes on, it is getting much larger, a force, and it's just going to be able to stop anything that the Protoss player throws at it. If the Protoss player if Az keeps throwing one unit at a time at this force, it's just not going to be able to do anything, especially seeing as the Terran's units they are mechanical, they can be repaired by SCVs. So this base is essentially sitting over here. Parts of it are unpowered. There's some anti-air forces over here that might be able to do something, but I don't think there are enough. Maybe if these stalkers were able to make it over and give a hand, this could turn out a little bit better for the Protoss player. And I know I did say this about the Terran player before, when he had to leave his base, when I said I'm not sure how he's going to win this match. Well, I think the tables have turned at this point. I'm not sure how the Protoss player is going to win this match. He's just he doesn't seem to be able to summon the will, summon the forces, summon the resources to really combat this Terran force. He does have an army close in mineral count, but he's not using it. He's not able to. It's not all together. It's spread out all over the map. Half is here, half is back at his main base. And it looks like he's going to lose his main base, and he's going to have to switch over to working out of his expansion over there. These units over here, they might be able... Oh, and these two Banshees coming in, this is not going to go well for the Protoss player. There are just too many Banshees here going after these ground units. Some excellent micro, again, from CowGoMo, pulling those low-health units away. So the Protoss player, Az, has to make a choice. He has to decide... do I want to chase after those and therefore not be shooting and get destroyed, or do I want to start shooting at someone else and not kill them and therefore get destroyed? A bit of a catch-22, all because he's using some very good micro. He's rolling into this base uncontested, taking down this Nexus. Nothing really that Az is doing or can do at this point. He's warping in a bunch of gateways here. But if this cybernetics core goes down, and it has gone down, he can't change those into warp gates for the instant or 5-second build times. And going after all these pylons, CowGoMo is going after all these pylons specifically so that Az is low on psi, his food supply, and he also can't use any of these buildings. They are unpowered, and therefore they do not allow him to use them it's as if he doesn't own them, essentially, unless he gets another pylon near them. Just going after all these pylons first, because they are lower health and easier to take out. And, yeah, this is an empty base. It's a husk. An empty husk of a Protoss base. And so these forces are going to move over here, and essentially consolidate and defend at this new orbital command. We see a line of barracks coming down. It looks like CowGoMo has set himself up in a position where he can really go on the offensive with ground forces again, something he really was not able to do. Is kind of guerrilla warfare, and it does look like that Az was able to get 2 High Templar out in time before the I'm not sure which tech building needs it. The Twilight Council, maybe. Templar Archives, probably. He was able to get 2 out and have them merge into an Archon before that building actually went unpowered. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like he can build the High Templar, so perhaps, even though the building is unpowered, you can still act as if you have it. It still contributes to your tech tree, even though you can't, do any research out of it, which is actually rather interesting. I'm not sure if CowGoMo realizes this or not, and that's why he's leaving it, or perhaps he just doesn't care. And another command center coming in. We do see both of the players are just kind of macroing up, trying as hard as they can to get their economies back on the steady. And CowGoMo's economy is doing much better. He's got more harvesters, more minerals, more gas. And it looks like he's going to start moving out with this big Banshee force here. Apologies, I'm playing in windowed mode here, so hopefully that doesn't mess things up too much. So this Banshee army is going to move in with a few Marines to help it out. We do have some Vikings as well. This is really going to be able to roll over anything that the Protoss player has at this point in time. in the game. And I actually do believe that I've gone over the 10-minute time limit, so I'm going to cut this off real quick. I'll see you at part 4 of this game and the conclusion.